This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Heather Sells. In Nashville today, devastation after at least 2 tornadoes touched down early this morning. The twisters killed at least 22 people and injured many. Thousands are now without power after the storm brought down power lines and destroyed dozens of buildings. The tornado that struck near downtown Nashville reportedly stayed on the ground for 10 minutes into neighboring city of Hermitage. The governor has declared a state of emergency as the death toll continues to rise. Police officers and fire crews are responding, working to rescue and find as many people as they can.
There are multiple homes damaged. There are multiple injuries, and we are still in that response. Our priority right now is assessing the injuries. We're responding, trying to find those who are trapped, trying to find those who are injured, and getting the aid that they need.
Schools, courts, transit lines, an airport, and the state capitol have been closed. Senator Marsha Blackburn told us that
there are many injuries, so we do not even have numbers on the number of injuries at this point. The property loss is running through several Tennessee counties, from Benton and Humphreys counties on the west all the way to the plateau with Putnam County. We're in touch with the governor. We are in touch with TEMA, which is our emergency management. The Secretary of State in Tennessee has all polling places open and functioning. Some of those did have to be relocated.
And we'll be continuing to follow what's happening in Nashville for you this week. Well, in other news, Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden is headed into today's Super Tuesday contest on a strong note. He picked up some major endorsements after 2 top candidates dropped out. Senator Amy Klobuchar and Pete Buttigieg have ended their campaigns and both announced that they would back Biden. This as they collectively try to stop Socialist Senator Bernie Sanders from winning the party's nomination.
We must, as Americans, dream bigger than that. We have to be better than that. Because if we spend the next 4 months dividing our party and going at each other, we will spend the next 4 years watching Donald Trump tear apart this country.
Sanders still leads the polls in delegate-rich Texas and California. President Trump spoke to reporters outside the White House before leaving for a campaign rally of his own in North Carolina. Trump saying he thinks the system is rigged against Sanders. Well, voters across the country are heading to the polls for Super Tuesday primaries right now. And by this time tomorrow, we may have a better idea of who's in command of the Democratic presidential race. Mark Martin brings us more.
Heather, voters across 14 states will head to the polls today in the biggest 2020 campaign event to date. More than 1,300 delegates are at stake. As you can see, that includes voters in delegate-rich states like California, Texas, North Carolina, and Virginia, which add up to more than 850 delegates alone. After today's vote totals, nearly 40% of the total delegates will be awarded. Here in Virginia, 99 delegates are up for grabs. As we saw in 2018, the state is beginning to turn bluer, mainly because of the Democrats' strength in urban areas and the northern Virginia suburbs outside of Washington. In Virginia Beach, there was steady turnout. Virginia also has an open primary, meaning any registered voter can vote regardless of their party registration.
It's been pretty steady. We're probably coming up on about 300 voters that have come in.
It's important to vote. Like I know, like my parents have always told me that it's important to go out and do your duty and like vote because like that's what you need to do as a citizen.
Does it make it more important for you that it's a presidential election year?
Yes, I would say so, but voting is very important regardless of if it's just governors or if it's just senators or if it's the president. It all matters.
A candidate needs 1,991 delegates to secure the nomination. It will certainly make for an interesting convention when Democrats gather in Milwaukee come July. Heather, back to you.
Thanks, Mark. And for more political news and analysis, be sure to catch Faith Nation this evening. You can watch it right here on the CBN News Channel. Well, turning now to Monday's election in Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu's opponents keep writing his political obituary. But after the voters spoke for the third time in a year, the prime minister holds the inside track to form Israel's next government. He still must build a coalition, though, even as the vote count continues. John Wagi brings us the story from Tel Aviv.
Jubilation at Likud party headquarters after the most skilled campaigner in Israel's history came from behind once again.
It's a win against all odds because we stood up against the powerful forces. They already eulogized us. Our enemies said the Netanyahu era is over, but we turned the plate on its head.
Likud's victory puts the prime minister right on the edge of a governing majority. He was in the same position last year and failed. But the people celebrating here tonight believe this time he won't be denied.
Exit polls gave the parties on the right at least 59 seats, just short of the 61 needed to end the Knesset logjam. But the full vote count could take days, and that makes for some anxious moments.
We're hoping it's going to be 61, and then we don't need anybody, and whoever wants to come is welcome, and whoever doesn't, we can still manage a government.
Still, Netanyahu's rival, blue and white leader Benny Gantz, refused to concede.
We created something called Blue and White. We merged our documents and principles to one place, and I am telling you that we won't compromise on our principles and our way.
In past campaigns, Likud counted on former Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman as a solid part of the right-wing bloc. But he started the election stalemate last year and says he won't compromise now.
We don't plan to move 1 millimeter from what we promised, from what we committed to our voters.
Even if Gantz and Lieberman won't compromise, the Likud camp believes in coming days they can find Knesset members from the left or the center to join them and save Israelis from a fourth election. John Wagi, CBN News, Likud headquarters, Tel Aviv.
And here at home, New York has announced its second confirmed case of the coronavirus. The number of cases across the nation now tops more than 115 different states. This as the Trump administration steps up efforts to protect the American people and combat the outbreak. Yesterday, President Trump met with pharmaceutical companies to talk about progress towards a vaccine. Meanwhile, Vice President Mike Pence met with the nation's governors to reassure them they will be reimbursed for some of the costs related to the crisis. Pence said at a White House briefing that they are taking all precautions that are necessary.
Let's be clear. The risk to the American people of the coronavirus remains low, according to all of the experts that we're working with across the government. And as the President has said, we're ready for anything, but this is an all-hands-on-deck effort.
The death toll from the virus in the U.S. has climbed to 6 worldwide. More than 90,000 people have been infected and 3,100 have died from the coronavirus. Please stay with us for the latest on the coronavirus as we continue to provide updates right here on the CBN News Channel and on CBNNews.com. Well, on Wednesday, the Supreme Court takes up its first major abortion case since the confirmation of 2 new justices. As Paul Strand reports, abortion opponents hope this will give the court a pro-life victory for the first time in decades.
The Louisiana case is about a state law insisting abortion doctors have admitting privileges at a local hospital for their patients. The state says it's necessary in case medical complications arise that the clinic can't handle. But abortion providers say only one Louisiana abortion doctor has such admitting privileges. So enforcing the law would drive needed doctors out of the business, and they say that would be an undue burden on women's right to an abortion.
There's an abortion business that is fighting for the right to abandon its patients. And the court is also going to be looking at the question of whether that business should be allowed to go into court and try to strike down the very laws that were enacted to protect their patients the women.
Alan Parker of the Justice Foundation says many women he represents are asking the court to rule against the abortion providers.
We actually put in 4,660 legally admissible written testimonies of women injured by abortion. It's the largest collection in the world of direct sworn evidence about what abortion does to women.
There is a lie out there that is promoted by the abortion lobby.
Brandy Swindell says the lie is that abortion is good for women, and she fights it by running pro-life pregnancy centers.
Staffed by people and by women who have had abortions, and they're involved in pro-life work because they believed the lie and then they experienced the pain of abortion, and it changed their life forever.
We know for decades women have been speaking out more and more about the harm abortion does to them for a lifetime. And it's not that abortion sometimes harms the mother, it always harms the mother.
207 Capitol Hill lawmakers want the court to use this case to review its stand that no undue burden can be placed on women getting an abortion. That could potentially lead the court to reconsider whether getting an abortion itself should be an automatic right. Pro-life activist David B. Wright says it's certainly not a constitutional right, but one made up by the justices in 1973.
And they actually even described that this right, which hadn't ever previously existed in the formation of our country and in the Constitution of the United States, but they said they found it in the penumbra, or the shadows of the Constitution. And it's because it was never there in the first place.
Foster says it's time to re-examine that so-called right.
The court can finally take a look at the precedent that got us here, looking at it and recognizing that it is the court's prerogative to assess that precedent.
The court should announce its ruling in this important case by June. Paul Strand, CBN News, the Supreme Court.
Coming up, a look at new legislation in California that would do away with gender-divided clothing sections and how Christians are responding.
If you want to be an attorney with a passion for serving people and for excellence, Regent University needs to be high on your list.
Regent's award-winning law school doesn't just create lawyers. We create leaders, judges, prosecutors and defense lawyers, civil litigators, and leaders in government. Ready to become a purpose-driven, practice-ready lawyer? To start your rewarding career, complete the online application, submit your transcripts, and take the law school admissions test by July.
Nutrition, exercise, essential oils, weight loss, and more. It's Healthy Living with Lori Johnson.
Talk about what's in this.
Join CBN health reporter Lori Johnson to get the latest information from today's top health experts.
This is fantastic.
Find out what you need to know to live a healthier life. Watch Healthy Living, Tuesday night at 9:30.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
Those for balls, man. Come.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes too, and so much more. Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Lawmakers in California are considering a bill that would force retailers of children's clothes and toys to stop selling them according to traditional gender categories. The bill says that to sell these items, stores with 500 employees or more must, quote, maintain undivided areas of its sales floor. The California Family Council is one group that is opposing this bill, and we're joined now by President Jonathan Keller. Jonathan, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me today.
So I want to ask you just exactly how does this bill work? It's a little confusing. Is it saying that you can't have your traditional boys' clothes and girls' clothes sections of a retail store?
Yeah, essentially this is a dramatic overreach by the government in Sacramento. Unfortunately, we're getting used to that in California. But really, this goes beyond what we've even seen over the last several years. The fact that the Capitol would be telling private businesses that they can no longer separate boys and girls' clothes, boys and girls' toys, and they essentially have to abolish the idea of gender sections for young people. It really is odd that California would be deciding that their radical view that gender doesn't matter, that gender norms, gender roles, traditional views of male and female are now going to be illegal, at least when it comes to retail.
Well, it's so interesting. The Assemblyman Evan Lowe, who sponsored the bill, said that stores shouldn't tell kids what a girl's shirt is or what a boy's toy is. He says he wants to help children express themselves freely and without bias. What is your response to that?
You know, respectfully to Assemblyman Lowe, I don't think it's the government's place to be telling kids what a boy or a girl is. Ultimately, I believe, California Family Council believes, that the book of Genesis was very clear when it says God created men in his own image, male and female, he created them. And in the state of California and in the rest of the United States, it's really up to the parents to be able to help guide children through their development and to help them not decide what their gender is, but to embrace what their gender, what their sex is. And that is based on biology. It is not based on the whims and feelings of the prevailing legislative party in Sacramento.
Jonathan, any chance this bill will pass? How much support does it have?
Well, it's still very early in the legislative session. There's not been a hearing yet, but unfortunately, as many of your viewers know, the state of California has a supermajority of Democrats in both houses of the Assembly and in the Senate in California. And sadly, even Republicans are often, at best, nervous about speaking out about God's design for gender and human sexuality. So our hope and prayer is that Californians would contact their legislators, that they would lovingly and respectfully, but firmly talk about why this is a bad idea and why children don't need to be further confused by the government in Sacramento when it comes to gender and sexuality.
All right. And we just have a short time left, but I want to ask you, you're also working to support Parents Authority in the area of sex ed. There is a bill that would allow parents to opt in when it comes to elementary age kids. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so there was a bill that was a carryover from last year. That bill did die earlier in the legislative session, but that has now been broken into two separate bills. The idea is that California is one of the most radical states also when it comes to what they call comprehensive sexuality education. And these two bills that we're trying to support would basically just, on the one hand, require total transparency, and on the other hand would allow elementary schools to choose an opt-in method for sex education.
Parents really are in the driver's seat then with that bill.
That's the hope that you would put parents back in the driver's seat, especially when it comes to transparency. I don't think anybody would be opposed to parents knowing what type of graphic curriculum their kids are going to be exposed to. We just are asking the state of California mandate that that curriculum be put online for all parents to see. They shouldn't have to go down to the district office on the second Thursday of the month between 2 p.m. and 3 p.m. to be able to see it. Every parent should be able to look at that from their phone.
I know that we're going to be following these bills. Thanks for the update, Jonathan Keller, California Family Council. Thanks for your time.
Thanks so much. God bless.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary, or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thanks for joining us.
Watch breaking news, exclusive stories and programs, credible news reporting.
We show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it.
This is CBN NewsWatch, because truth matters. Weekdays at 5 on the CBN News Channel.
Yes, right on time.
From Superbook.
Pepper's Pizza Palace is donating pizza for everyone today. Wait. I have big plans today.
Trust in God even when times are tough. He has a plan for your life.
Hey, we're gonna be late for the grand opening.
My parents want me to help with this outreach thing, feeding the community. What am I supposed to do here? Superbook!
Join the Superbook Club and get Superbook The Birth of Moses, plus 2 copies to share with others, all for your gift of only $25.
Pharaoh ordered all newborn Hebrew boys thrown into the Nile River, and I have a 3-month-old brother.
The Birth of Moses. Yours for a gift of only $25.
What will you do the next time the soldiers come? I do not know, but I trust God has a plan for all of us.
Superbook Club members, free streaming for seasons 1, 2, and 3 is now available.
We hear a lot about hostility to faith and religion in the workplace, but new research shows that companies may be becoming more supportive of their employees' religious beliefs. Dr. Brian Grimm leads the Religious Freedom and Business Foundation and recently analyzed how well Fortune 100 companies do when it comes to religious inclusion. Dr. Grimm, thanks for joining us.
It's great to be with you.
Talk about this research. What did you learn about these companies and what their commitment to supporting the faith of their employees looks like?
Well, what we found was that about 20% of the Fortune 100 companies have employee groups that are based on faith. And these groups come together either around a particular faith, like Christian faith or Muslim or Jewish faith, or they can have an interfaith appeal. And this gives an avenue for employees in the company to be able to celebrate, express, and practice their faith in the workplace.
In recent years, companies have tended to focus on diversity issues such as race, gender, sexual orientation, and disabilities. But you said recently that corporate America is possibly at a tipping point when it comes to giving religion the attention that it's given to other major diversity categories. Why do you think this might be happening now?
Yeah, that's right. We really are at a tipping point in America for corporate America to become more faith-friendly. And the reason for this is that some of these companies like Texas Instruments, American Airlines, Intel, American Express have been having these employee groups for 2 decades or more. But some other players are coming in and they're adopting these same practices, such as Salesforce, which started their Faith Force just under 3 years ago, and it's now the fastest growing employee group in the company's history. And just this past fall, the largest employer in the United States, Walmart, started a group. So when you see the largest employer in the nation starting a group like this, then others will start to follow.
What do you think is convincing Walmart and some of these other big employers that now is the time to do this?
Well, one thing, the job market is tight, so they want to attract and retain the best talent they can, and these groups help them do that. So it helps attract talent. If people know they can bring their whole self, faith and all, to work, that makes them consider that company a good place to work. And if they are appreciated for that and they can bring that to work, then they want to stay there. That retains good talent. And it's also good for the market. If you're trying to do business in India, for instance, which is Hindu majority, and you have some Hindus on staff who can help you navigate the culture and religious situation in the country, then that can be a real boon for companies trying to work cross-culturally and across faith lines.
A lot of practical business reasons, it sounds like. I want to ask you, too, some LGBTQ groups will no doubt see these faith-based employee resources as a threat. What is your response? How do you handle that question?
So actually, we've done a study. In the study, we find that when you have faith-based groups, that tends to create an environment that's more conducive to having LGBT groups and vice versa. So rather than it being either or, we see it as being both and by allowing people to bring their whole self, whether it's based on their sexual orientation or their religious identity, these groups help to reinforce one another, and companies, they find that what might be seen as a conflict in general society is not one within the companies.
Dr. Grimm with the Religious Freedom and Business Foundation, really interesting research. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Coming up, the director of the new CBN film I Am Patrick talks about how he got a famous actor to play the role of the legendary St. Patrick. We'll have that when we come back.
When I came to Regent University, it's like the world opened up. I felt like I needed to advance my career and go back to school. Regent was a perfect fit for me. The Regent professors are world class. You are equipped. The focus of the faculty is on each individual student, whether it's online or in person. You become a part of Regent's family. You carry with you not just the content and the knowledge, but the confidence to understand that we can be significant in the world.
Regent University. Follow your path.
Nigerian Christians
in Iran are routinely arrested.
Happily, Christians continue to suffer.
In times of trial and affliction, you need to know the truth.
One of the fastest growing Christian populations in the world.
Join Wendy Griffith and George Thomas for Christian World News.
Young people are the ones who are open to the gospel.
Powerful stories of suffering and hope that affect all Christians. Watch Christian World News, Saturday at 5 p.m.
Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
Today, Christians are suffering intense persecution in countries like Nigeria and Iran. It's a modern example of the persecution that's been going on for 2,000 years of church history. In 5th century Ireland, St. Patrick was enslaved, imprisoned, and tortured for his faith. But he persevered, and as a result of his ministry, the entire nation of Ireland eventually converted to Christianity. CBN Film's newest docudrama, I Am Patrick, tells the real story of the legendary saint. CBN's The Prayer Link sat down with the director of the film, Jared Anderson, to talk about how actor John Rhys Davies got on board to play Patrick.
He wasn't ever supposed to be in the film. I actually asked him after we did the voiceover record, I said, he's got to play the part. And I had a chance where I asked him, I just said, I know it'd be way beneath you, but would you consider actually playing the part? And he said, it wouldn't be beneath me at all.
And to see the full interview with Jared Anderson and more, be sure to watch The Prayer Link, and you can catch it tonight on the CBN News Channel at 6:30 Eastern. I Am Patrick, the patron saint of Ireland, hits theaters for a 2-night Fathom event March 17th and 18th. Tickets are on sale now, so be sure to go to iampatrick.com to see showtimes and reserve your seats. And that is it for this edition of CBN News Watch. We hope that you'll join us next time. Please have a great day.